on his request from the board for input on 5 questions or concerns that he has. So this is just a discussion. Okay.
I kind of set this up in order that I believe is going to be the least controversial to the most controversial, or the most discussion anyhow. We tried to get ahead of the curve as far as the public complaining about the grass in Arcadia Hills. We always get that every summer. We did send out 2 letters. One person actually responded and did some of the cutting, and also the neighbors went out and cut the front lawn, they cut the back lawn out. But the other one that we always had every year for the last 2 or 3 years, Krantz is the name, I believe.
Right.
They have not done anything. I think we should go ahead and cut the lawn. It's up to a foot or so in the front lawn right now.
Now, is this the one that every year we send the registered letters out, we get it back?
Policy and procedure.
Yeah, but by law, we have to follow the procedure, correct?
We already sent the registered letter out. They signed for it already. We have the response, the card back, and they signed for it.
Okay.
We're up to that point where we need to probably make the resolution, go ahead and cut the lawn.
Do we need to do that by resolution?
Yeah, you should.
Okay. Would someone like to make a motion that... Pardon?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Can I do this by motion?
No. You're going to need a formal resolution. Because I assume what Neil is saying is absolutely correct.
Let's do it on Thursday night.
Right, there's a procedure that has to be followed. I honestly do not know.
We'll get you this information. We have sent the letter out, and we got the green card back already saying that they signed.
Okay. But you know what's sad on this thing is...
Okay, I'll look.
Here it is, July 1st. Grass grows. I mean, isn't there a faster, repetitive way of doing this? Maybe we ought to start sending notes out in February before the grass grows.
Yeah, time-wise.
I mean, it doesn't make much sense.
Unless it's just properly, you're right.
Because we know they're not going to mow it. They don't live there. Okay, well, February it'll be.
Yeah, there's no. What's interesting is that, you know, this is all the costs, et cetera, are re-levied on their tax bill each year, and they pay it.
Oh, yeah.
You know.
Okay, let's take care of it.
Second thing, I noticed a number of backstops showing up on along our streets, about a foot off the road. It's not such an issue right now because we don't do any plowing. Coming into the season, when we start getting into snow plowing every year, the highway department gets upset about it. I'd like to put an article in the paper suggesting people take them down now, and then we'll go ahead and start contacting people saying, cut them down. What happens is they set them up, they put them in concrete right next to the road. It's one thing if they had them in a movable, but setting concrete, that's a real hazard to our drivers. So I'd like to start taking a proactive.
We actually have just walk in concrete on the main drag.
Sure, right in Ham Park, there's got to be 2 or 3 of them.
In the right of way.
I was talking a foot or so, so they can take the shot right from the...
Even the portable ones, I see them in Arcadia all over the place.
Sure.
They're 2-3 feet past their driveway.
I mean, portable, it shouldn't be there in the right of way anyhow, but at least portable come this plowing season, we can move back.
Dennis, is this under the category of code enforcement? What does this come under?
Correct. Code enforcement.
So we need to write a note to each one of these homeowners?
Yeah, Neil just outlined, yeah.
Fine.
Neil's all doing that. I think
do an article.
I think an article in the paper is appropriate to just try to cut it out from anybody doing it in addition, and we'll contact these people individually.
Fine.
But I'd like to start it now rather than fighting it.
Now, we did have experience this past winter where we broke a windshield on a truck with a basketball hoop. When they hit the plow, it came back and broke the windshield. So there is a safety hazard. It's based on fact.
Okay.
I think it's back to stop signs. My brother, Paul, I don't watch the cars coming down the street.
Right. Okay.
Third thing is numbering of buildings and properties. It's been in our code for a long time. What I am going to do is start putting people on notice when they get building permits that you're not going to get your CO until you get your a number up there that is in compliance with the code. Not a big issue, but I suspect you're going to hear a couple complaints. So I just want to get you ahead of time.
Okay.
Old bills from consultants. We have a number of outstanding vouchers for people. We're still trying to get a total grip on that. What happens is the people who go away for a while, Maplewood's being one of them, but others just reach a certain point. We are going to start a little bit of procedure so we can possibly move some vouchers ahead if it's for the same consultant. But we have some of these guys are holding $20,000 from one project, $15,000 from another project. We're still trying to get a grip on it, but it's always...
They owe us that much?
got to set in place with the board is, we have escrow. It's the responsibility of the professionals who are using that escrow to ensure through our building and zoning office the money's there. If the money's not there, they shouldn't be doing the work.
Point in time, we either have our consultants continue doing the work on it, or we have them not doing the review and we get default approval. So that's the point at which we get hung up every time. We don't try to get hung up. I mean, and it's not that we don't try. We will sometimes have $15,000 in there, and we'll go beyond the $15,000.
So what are you proposing then?
I'm not proposing. I'm looking at the individual projects, and if I have $5,000, but I have a $10,000 bill first, and then I have other bills below, I'll pay the other bills before that just to get people the money. But what I'm really going to try doing is raising the amount of money that has to be put up when we're coming to the point of the EIS. $25,000, $30,000 is not unheard of, or exorbitant, I think, for subdivisions. I'm sure some consultants will think it's exorbitant. But our guys are getting hung up too long for multiple years. I mean, this one probably has been 2 or 3 years now. The other one is probably going to be another year or two now.
Well, the soft market, where land applicants are not, they'll go so far and they just drop out of sight.
Yep.
I can see how this can happen. Dennis, do you have any suggestions for us?
Well, Neil and I have talked, and I know I've talked to the planning professionals about it also, from the planner right on through the attorneys and the engineers. And what's got to be done, as Neil was indicating, is one, it's got to be monitored. And it has been to a point. At the EIS stage, they are running into a problem, and we've discussed, in fact, I think it's Neil's intention, to raise substantially the escrow requirement at that stage to cover issues going forward.
That's the point at which we spend, there's an awful lot of money spent at that point in time. It's not unheard of for the various consultants to spend total $15,000 to $30,000 to $35,000. So if you have 100 lots or whatever, it's a big development. So it's not unheard of for our consultants to spend up to $30,000 at that point in time. If I'm sitting there with $25,000, it looks pretty good, but I can easily blow through that kind of money. And if they start replenishing it some, and then all of a sudden, in 2 months, before I can have a chance to stop it, I can blow through that money and end up with, in one case, I'm spending, I have over $20,000 owed to our consultants at this point on a project that's still active.
So what you're saying to us tonight, then, is 2 things. One is, when it comes to the EIS, you're going to put in more dollars in escrow.
I'm going to raise it substantially, and you're probably you're going to hear complaints.
You're going to get criticism.
Okay,
sure.
Fine, all right. And then the other one is, if you've got a set amount of money left, and you can pay off 3 of the professionals versus, you're going to pay off the 3.
I'm going to jump over it
right.
and try to pay as much as I can. Particularly, sometimes I get a bill from somebody for $5,000, and their next bill is $1,000. I can pay them their $1,000. I just assume pay them, and not say, well, your $5,000 bill, and I'll sit there on top of the $1,000. It just makes no sense at all. Our consultants are pretty good about it.
I feel we have a policy that consultants weren't supposed to do the work until they assured from your department the money was actually there. So this doesn't sound like it's happening.
Well, because as Neil pointed out, that there does come a time when other statutorily mandatory time requirements have to be met. And in order to meet those, the consultants have to do the work and act accordingly. Otherwise, you could get a default approval of some of these projects due to a lack of activity on the part of the town. The only way to do that is to retroactively go back, or in futural, actually going forward, in requiring a greater deposit at the EIS stage.
And that goes back to we could actually pay the applicant with his application, but we still pay money to them. We don't have money to pay him.
Yeah,
we have not.
I just want to clarify.
You're absolutely correct, and we have not. We have not paid.
I understand what you're saying. It's back to the point where we never. When a taxpayer's money is got.
Oh, you can't.
We have not done that in several weeks. I'm going to say.
We don't pay the consultants. They do the work.
No, we don't. Our consultants sit on the money. Our consultants are.
Well, they did. Okay. Believe me, that's the understanding, the terms of which our consultants work for the town, myself included. Although I'm not subject to that many times. I'm not complaining, but they're aware that if you will, work is done, required by state law or otherwise, by time limit. If we are naked, if you will, without funds, they wait.
Okay.
And there is a possibility that it's pro bono work, if you will, contribute to the town. I think we cannot be, and we should not
All right.
be using taxpayer funds.
Just want to clarify.
We have not used taxpayer funds, say, for the last 4 or 5
I
years.
know, that's why I said, oh, very good